Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight? Today, whatever it is.
Yeah, it wasn't like the that win was similar to the Boston win in that they tied the game late and won it overtime, like two incredible comebacks. But it was completely different than the Boston game, wasn't it? The Oilers were utterly dominant in this one, except for blunders at both ends of the ice, which we'll get to. They were dominant. The grade A shots were 21 for Edmonton and 10 for San Jose, with a subset, excuse me, not 10, 6, 21-6 for the Oilers, and the subset of 5 alarm shots was 10-4 for the Oilers. You'd expect the Oilers to score 5 or 6 goals on that many shots, and that's not including something that all the open looks that they had, which they failed to hit the net on, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Bruce, this is our two good things, two bad things, two numbers podcast. What is your good thing, Amundo?
Yeah, I don't have to look too far to find the towering figure of Connor McDavid, whose stamp was all over this game. He was really zipping from the get-go, and just had his legs and his hands, and he had San Jose playing chase, which they actually did not bad. You know, looked to me like they were man on man, and the Oilers would have the puck, but they would never sort of gain any separation from them because the checkers were hustling and not giving much. But McDavid was still creating plenty. What do you have? Probably 10 grade A chances he was in on, 9 or 10.
Let me just look. I will tell you in one's 9. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and that doesn't count like 5 others where he set somebody up for a look where they missed the frickin' net. Sometimes the wide open net. Anyway, his great pass to Zach Hyman on the first goal, seconds after he set Nugent Hopkins up on the other side of the net for one of Yaroslav Askarov's many robberies in this game. Then he set Hyman up on the other side and he drained it. And then, of course, we got right down to the denouement. Oilers down 2-1, under 30 seconds to go. And again, it's basically a 6-man effort, keeping possession and moving the puck around the boards and winning puck battles. But the puck comes to McDavid on the top of the right circle. And rather than drive it towards the net, he found Corey Perry at the bottom of the left circle, put it on his stick, and then Perry tapped it back to Matthias Ekholm, who hammered it home. And on that one, I think Askarov, because of the sequence, he overplayed the pass to Perry a little bit, and he left it a little bit too much far side for Ekholm to exploit. And then, of course, just in game time, 35 seconds later, and the other 18 seconds on the other side of the 60-minute buzzer, it was McDavid taking a pass high in the zone and again sliding one over to Draisaitl at the bottom of the circle. Pass got tipped a little bit and kind of messed up, I think, the timing of the goalie, which was fine by me.
Yeah, that was good.
And Draisaitl somehow got a shot that went through and under him, which I despaired on ever scoring low along the ice in this game because he was stopping everything down there. But again, a primary assist for McDavid on the game winner. 3 goals for the Oilers, 3 assists for McDavid. Same thing as what Draisaitl did last game, right? 3 assists on a 3-2 overtime win, including setting up the late game tire and the overtime winner. So, they expect a lot from these big guys, and guess what? These big guys deliver the goods. And this day, it was McDavid's turn to take the lead again.
Shake and bake. It's like Talladega Nights. Like, what was his name? Ricky Bobby.
Ricky
like
Bobby.
David was doing the shake and bake all night long, man. He was losing players with that great. He's got, what is it, an inside outside move? Yeah, that's where he fakes inside and then bursts outside. It's just, what a player! What an amazing hockey player. Even defenders as skilled as NHL defenders are now. Defenders are so well trained and disciplined, such agile skaters, all of them. There's very few guys who just can't skate like there used to be in the 80s in the NHL. I mean, they could skate then, but they were just marginal. They'd be marginal AHL players, that level of skating now. These guys can all skate, all defend. They're all highly disciplined. They're playing super disciplined systems, and McDavid just dominates the puck in the offensive end. They cannot touch him, and he gets space all the time. It's just, we're so lucky, Bruce, to have these two superstars playing in Edmonton. Sometimes we might, get caught up in grumping over this or that, but wow, you don't get excitement like this unless you have that kind of surreal talent on your team. I'm going to single out for my good thing some players who are more foot soldiers. 3 wingers: Vasily Podkolzin, Kasperi Kapanen, and Victor Arvidsson. I guess they're all European wingers. And Podkolzin, he was one of the few Oilers not missing the net, and he just kept.
Couldn't buy
I think
one,
he had 5 shots, and I think pretty much every one of them was a grade A shot. He broke in first, or he broke in early in the second for a good shot. Then he got a one-timer in tight. Couldn't beat Askarov. Then the same shift, Kapanen, who had made a really nice spin move to set up the initial really good shot by Podkolzin right in front of the net. He went to the slot. Draisaitl hit him in the high slot, and he fired a really dangerous shot on net, which Askarov shot, and then Podkolzin just jumped on the rebound, and he could not put it in. I mean, that was such a great shot. He followed that up late in the second with another a one-timer, this time from the dot, which was a really, really hard and dangerous shot. So he was getting his chances tonight, and you'd expect him to score at least 1 goal, maybe 2, on that kind of shooting, but not to be. I mean, yeah, the Oilers should have got, as I say, 5 or 6 goals, and he could have had 1 or 2 of them. Kapanen, I've already covered. He wasn't he wasn't as active or as successful as Podkolzin, but his speed, Bruce, is impressive, and I think I would not be surprised to see him in the playoff lineup because of that speed and some skill. If he hustles and checks with that kind of speed and a little bit of skill, he's a useful hockey player for the Edmonton Oilers. Arvidsson, it was great to see him moving so well. He played well. He, because he's coming back from injury. He hammered a really hard shot on a nice play by the third line. Henry took it in, put it over to Perry, and Perry made a very nice cross ice pass to Arvidsson, who hammered a shot on net in the first.
Yeah, that was a nice play.
He set up in the second period. Troy Stetcher made a nice play at the blue line to win the puck. It went to Arvidsson, who made a good pass to Henrique down low, and Henrique lashed a backhander on net in tight. Really good chance. And then he set up Draisaitl, down low in the third, and that's one of the missed shots of this game, which we'll again get to in a second. Bruce, what's your bad thing? Go ahead.
Arvidsson, much better game from him. He was sort of playing his way into it on Thursday. And today he seemed to be engaged from the beginning, and I thought effective, even as I don't think he found the score sheet, but I thought he played a strong game. And Kapanen, man, I just keep seeing good fundamental hockey out of that guy. He does a lot of things right. And there was one play he made in the first period where he had the puck in his own zone under pressure, and he just made a really good play to work its way up the wall, with possession, not turn it over, get it over the blue line, then look up and find Leon with the pass, breaking through the neutral zone. And the next thing you know, it's Edmonton attacking their blue line. It was just, a couple of small plays, but stitched together into a sequence that was positive. And he seems to he keeps catching my eye by doing little things properly, and he's fast. Like, he gets there in a hurry.
Yeah, like I say, I think starting to see enough there that I think he'll have a job come playoff time. It's still early, and they're going to make some deals, but he's got to be impressing management and the coaching staff. I mean, they have him on the second line. Clearly, they're impressed. So, and Leon Draisaitl must be impressed because as we understand it, Leon picks his line mates.
Yeah, I got two $1 million wingers from the pickup bin at Goodwill. In terms of the acquisition cost of those two guys was next to nothing.
Yeah,
and yet they make a pretty effective line.
They did get a $4 million and a $3 million winger this summer to play with.
That was the plan.
And it may still work out that way. We'll see what happens in the long run here. Bruce, what's your bad thing?
Got to go right early in the game, first period, 3:23 mark, when San Jose opened the scoring. I think this was their third shot of the game. Edmonton actually didn't give one up on the traditional second shot against. They got all the way to 3 before one went in. And this was such a nothing play where the puck went into the defensive right corner, and we saw a pairing. It looks like they started the game of Bouchard and Kulak, like very early in the game, and they got a shift together. And Bouchard went into the left wing corner, which is not his corner, but he was there, kind of taking on the guy and not really doing a great job of it. And Kulak was the second guy back covering the slot. He did one little shoulder check, and he thought, I better go in and do Evan's job for him. He's not doing it well enough. And of course, he goes in, reaching, fishing for the puck, and the guy flicks a pass past both of them. And the guy cruising into the unguarded slot slams it into the net. What are you doing, Brett? Like, yeah.
What are you doing?
I like you, but I didn't like that play. Anyway, it was that was just too easy. And when you consider how hard it was for Edmonton to get goals back in this game, giving away freebies was not really a good plan.
Well, as people who listen to this podcast know, the number one thing I complain about is the danger man not being covered. Yeah. The danger man is the player who's coming into the slot late. It's not I tell you what, Reinhardt scored from the corner there, so it's good that one guy. Guy was there to guard against that, and Evan Bouchard was there to guard against that. There was no reason on the planet Earth for Kulak to make that play, and it's fascinating. Like, these are NHL players, highly trained, highly skilled, smart, and excellent reads, excellent judgment, generally speaking, or they wouldn't be in the NHL. But that was, I guess he thought it was a loose puck, and he could come grab it up and go. That's the best, my guess. That was his read, I think, was that puck was there for the taking, and he would get it and go. So that's not a terrible, but when you're a defenseman, your primary job is to cover the slot area, especially in a zone system. And he just totally screwed up. Bruce, my bad thing is at the other end of the ice. And as good as Askarov was, he was really assisted by the Oilers. Were they pressing? Were they unlucky? Were they, they just missed the net. They missed the net repeatedly. So I think Nuge missed the net or couldn't get off shots 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And Hyman once and Draisaitl twice in the third period, right at the side of the net, wide open. Oh. So with Draisaitl, this is a rare thing. When Leon has an open net, even sometimes when he doesn't, he scores. So he is a high percentage shooter for a reason. He's a deadly accurate shooter. So I'll just say nothing. Like, this happens to every player. Hyman, same thing. Like he's a scorer. He scored how many goals last year? Nuge, Houston, we may have a problem. He's not playing strong two-way hockey this year on the top line, Bruce. He's he's good with the puck. He keeps the play going. He moves the puck to McDavid. He does have, obviously, he's got attributes as a player. He's an okay defensive winger, but he hasn't been an effective two-way player on the top line. And if he can't drain chances, like I wouldn't. Listen. I want to see Jeff Skinner on the top line before they move on from Skinner. Or they spent a lot to get Jeff Skinner. It ended up costing them dearly in a way they hadn't anticipated with the offer sheets to Broberg and Holloway. Yep. They invested a lot in this player. He hasn't had a chance to play that much with McDavid, and Nuge isn't scoring. He's not playing great. He's not playing any better than Jeff Skinner right now at even strength. He is not. They're similar defensively, and Nuge isn't putting up the points on the top line. I'd like to see Skinner get a run of 5 or 6 or 7 games where he gets a chance to play with McDavid and see what happens. Because what if suddenly he starts popping in a lot of goals? I mean, that would be huge for the Oilers. That, they're already going great guns, but there's lots of good teams in the NHL. They're one of them. You need every advantage you can get. You need to explore every advantage you can get. That's why I liked it in practice there when they put Nurse with Bouchard, for instance, this week. I was hoping to see that because that could work out. I mean, Ekholm's historically been utterly fantastic with Bouchard, but he has been in a slump. Seems to be breaking out of it with these 2 goals. But try things out in the regular season. And this is one thing I think that they really should try. I think they're actually, it's one of those things where you're failing as a coaching staff if you don't explore how Skinner can do on the top line. So that's what I would say about that.
Yeah, Nuge is having trouble finishing. He's still, in his last 10 games before today, 4 goals and 5 assists. So he is starting to pump up the totals, but he's far enough in the hole that it's, until he starts scoring over a point a game for a while, it's going to look like he's taking on water. I think he's coming around some, and he's doing some nice things, like on the Hyman goal. He did a really nice job shading off the San Jose defenseman and giving McDavid just enough room to make that pass. And that was a very deliberate quasi pick play. Like, he never touched the guy, but he just prevented the guy from making a move against
he went to the
McDavid.
Net.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, very nifty skating. It was like McDavid's blocker who was out in front of him following the same route, and McDavid just came in behind him. So I see things that I like in his game, but I sure wish he had a quicker release.
So
anyway.
he's got, I don't think this has been updated. I don't know if he got an even strength point. He's got 12 even strength points heading into today's game. Skinner had 11. And so I don't know how many even strength points of those 10 points or 9 points you mentioned in the last 10 games. I mean, that's good. Like, maybe he's getting going, but I don't know how many of those are at even strength. And in any case, Skinner with much weaker line mates.
4 at even strength, 2 and 1 on the power play.
Okay, so Skinner with weaker line mates this year has essentially the same number of points as Nugent Hopkins.
Less minutes too.
Yeah, and less minutes. So I just, again, like, you can always go back to Nugent Hopkins. You've done, what you have there. It's not particularly, it's okay, and maybe it's trending up a bit. I'm not sure about that myself, but Skinner, I just go for that, see how it works. If it doesn't work, then and then you might have to try to move Skinner, and maybe Skinner, who has a no movement clause, like everyone's saying, trade Skinner. He has a no movement clause. You can't trade him unless he wants to. If you give him, you could even sit down. We're going to give you a run of games here. Let's see if we can make this work for you on the Oilers, Jeff. Let's see what you can do, and let's see what we got here. And if it doesn't work, then you can come back to him and say, hey, listen, this isn't working out. Right, would you be open to a move at the deadline? So I think you're much more likely to get him to say yes if it doesn't work out, because that's how it is in pro hockey. Like he wants to succeed, and he might look for an opportunity on another team then who would want him. His contract isn't that onerous, so it's a $3 million cap hit. So anyway, that, I think they should do that, and I think there's a number of reasons to do that. Bruce, what is your number?
My number is 8 minutes and 19 seconds, and also 13 minutes and 52 seconds. The 8:19 is the total playing time, elapsed time of the 7 overtime periods that the Oilers won the game. Like, they dropped the puck for overtime, and that game is in instant peril of being over. There's the times of the Oilers' goals this year, overtime goals: 56 seconds, 18 seconds, a minute 52, 2:33. That was the laggard, 2.5 minutes. It took half of the overtime to score that time. 1:04, 18 seconds, and a minute and 18 seconds. So that's not in the right order, but yeah. And Draisaitl 6 points on the 7 goals, and the other one was Nugent Hopkins unassisted in Utah. And the 2 games they lost, one of them went 4 minutes 53 seconds against Carolina. Remember, Aho scored right at the tail end of that game, of that session, and the other one in Toronto, 40 seconds. So, you die by the sword sometimes. That was the time where Draisaitl to McDavid's 2-on-1 pass was intercepted by Marner, and he went up the ice and scored. But they don't mess around. Like, we haven't seen a shootout in this town for a long time. Like, technically, they still happen. But the vast majority, like 9 out of 9 regulation ties have been decided within the 5 minutes of overtime. And the lion's share of them within the first 2 minutes, and it's quite dramatic how quickly they set about settling affairs. And you think back on those overtimes, it seems like every shift that McDavid, Draisaitl, which is the first one, and often that's the only one they need, but they always seem to get at least one golden scoring chance, like 3 out of 3. How do you contain those guys? Answer seems to be you don't.
You can't, because they're just so good, right? They're so fast and skilled. You don't know which way they're going to go, and you just can't. 3 on 3, you can't.
And the puck is going this way, that way. I mean, Draisaitl was on the left, and wait a minute, he's on the right. Oh, the puck's in the net.
Your only strategy is to win the face-off and kill off a minute. Hold the puck for a minute, rag the puck for a minute up and down the ice. That's the strategy, because once they get the puck, they're with so few players on the ice, they cannot be contained. They're just too good. And like there's a few other, like McKinnon and Makar have that same, Rantanen. Like I imagine it would be, I don't know what their record is in overtime, but those are 3 players who are similar in some ways. Like it's the only one approaching their talent level of the Oilers' top 3. But and I want to point out, Evan Bouchard was in on a couple of the goals, and he just had a really good game. He took a beating on social media after a weak game recently, but he was so good tonight. And he was really good the last game against Boston. Maybe he needed to get a little wake up a bit on defense. He is such an outstanding hockey player. We both agree on this. So, but he was really fine tonight.
Yeah, well, he took a nasty knock, late in that game, where I got sort of pushed into the goal net in Minnesota, where it was 7-1, and Ryan Hartman, not Mike Hartman, Ryan Hartman pushed him in the net, and there was real concern that he might have a serious injury. And he took several maintenance days and missed practice, but didn't miss any games. He's very durable. But there's no quarter given, If you're out there to play, we expect you to be 100% boosh. And as soon as you make a mistake, we're going to be right back on your case, boosh.
Yes.
And sometimes it seems a little over the top. Like, he does more right than wrong. Like, anyway.
Way more right, and it's really right. Bruce, my number is .636. It's the Oilers' winning percentage right now, and I'm not sure if this is the first time this year they've burst into the top 10, but they have done that now. They're 9th overall. in terms of points.
Probably,
And
yeah.
I think the same with points percentage. They've got 42 points in 33 games. They're now 11-8 at home and 9-5 on the road. So this team it's coming. It's coming on. And it's going to add Evander Kane. It's going to make at least one, maybe I think there'll be two trades before the deadline. I think they'll add a forward and a defenseman. And I don't think they're going to add a goalie, although we'll see how that goes, but I don't think they'll do that. So that's really good after that crappy little start, another crappy start. They've taken some of the suspense out of the season with this run of good games in December. They needed to they need to get hot.
Yeah.
And they did get hot. So,
absolutely. You got to establish yourself as, if you're a contending team, you shouldn't be hanging around near the playoff cut line waiting to get hot. You need to get hot and establish yourself, firmly in the top three of your division. And you froze.
And how for
there you are, I think.
Yeah, you froze too there just now.
Oh,
there,
okay.
Yeah, there you are. Bruce Winston against. I know it. This is one of the few times I know it because we just talked about it the last game, the back-to-back.
Yeah, tomorrow
Oilers
evening against Ottawa.
Tomorrow night at 6.
Yeah, and Ottawa plays tonight in Vancouver at 8. So they have a short turnaround.
Yeah.
So, it's just a few hours more rest Edmonton has, but also Ottawa has to travel. So that's not easy for them. Now, Ottawa will also bring a red-hot, white-hot goalie to town in Linus Ullmark. And they will, it sounds like they're going to use their backup tonight and save Ullmark for the Oilers tomorrow. So go figure. But Ullmark's had like 7 goals against in his last 7 games, and I think he won them all.
So. All right. Well, it seems like we're both freezing here on the screen, so let's call it a night. Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between time, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.
Never in doubt.